I was telling Cassie that I have a song for today because we played one couple of episodes before, and we thought we'd make it a practice to start off with a song.
Oh, I love it.
Every genre we're going to try and hit during this time.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
While we give our attendees a couple of minutes to join, I think will be a nice thing. So this one is called Storyteller by the Gotthard Sisters.
Yeah, I love it. The music is a very important element, I think, in learning and creativity.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're so excited to have you. I'm Cassie, one of your co-hosts, and we have Vishak on here.
Hi, Cassie. Hey, hi, guys. This is Vishak, and we are on episode 5 of the Learning Bus. It's amazing, Cassie. I mean, it's 5 episodes.
I'm
It's
five years
high
old.
five. Yeah. So as always, the Learning Bus. Good morning, Kavita. Thank you so much. And letting everybody know that one of the intentions of this series, a webinar series, is to connect with various professionals, industry leaders, practitioners, thought leaders as such, and get perspectives into how L&D is going, how it's evolving. And I think that's the whole idea of the show. And we're really happy to be in episode 5 over here. And we have an amazing guest with us. And I'm really happy. I mean, we've been talking to Ian for quite some time now. And Cassie, I think I'll pass it on to you because Cassie is the one who kind of introduced me to Ian, and it'd be really nice to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm so thankful to have Ian Kitajima here. I'm probably the havoc to his world sometimes because I'm like, hey Ian, can you come do this? Hey Ian, can you come do this? And so Ian's been great. He's a great thought partner. He has done amazing things in the industry for Hawaii, around the world, internationally, as well as on the mainland. So, Ian, rather than me go through the little spawn out about telling who you are, why don't you tell our audience who you are and where you come from? And then while you're doing that, your audience, can you go ahead and tell us where you're coming in from?
Thanks. Thank you. Hey, Cassie. Vishak. Yeah, so hi everybody. My name is Ian Kitajima. I'm actually here out in Hawaii, and so I'm looking out my window right now, and it's just dark because it's 5 a.m. in the morning. So the biggest challenge was getting up so early. But so I grew up here in Hawaii, um, and I think part of when you grow up in a small place like an island, I uh, I think I've always been trying to run away from a place like this, but because you want to explore the world, and I wasn't the greatest student. The interesting part about um, I think about myself is, as I look back, is I wasn't the greatest like student, and because I was always running away, going surfing, cutting class, um, and because for many reasons, school was, or the learning process, at least in traditional school, was was so boring for me. And I think this is the but luckily, that curiosity and the love of learning just never went away. But I think part of it is uh you know that's the I guess that's always the challenge, right? Is how do you design things that keeps engaging your learning and yourself and your curiosity. And so I've been really fortunate to have had a career. Like, I'm maybe one of the oldest people here, maybe, though I look sometimes, I look young. I'm actually I was able to live through all the major kind of tech revolutions. My generation was the first generation that went from typewriters to computers in college. So I went to school in the college in the 80s. And so, and then everything that came after that. And my career has been in technology, automating retail stores, automating distribution centers, developing software, running software companies, being part of the mobile phone revolution. So running away, I actually ran away to Finland during the late around actually the early 2000s, just before the dot-com bubble. So I was part of that as well. So I was helping to run a, a mobile phone company in Finland. And it was, and it was always in those really amazing places where change was happening so rapidly. And was very fortunate to do that and came back home to Hawaii, and I've been back for over about 26 years. But yeah, and for the last prior to me joining the organization I'm in now, I was at this probably the biggest science and tech company in Hawaii for the last for about 22 years. And you can think of those guys as, when you watch James Bond, any of those movies, there's a guy Q, and there's a lab of all the engineers and scientists inventing things. That is what I was fortunate to be a part of for almost 22 years, doing the most cutting edge applied research in every kind of field you can think about. And then today, for the last 3 years, I've been running a nonprofit that's doing something similar, but with Hawaii companies and Japanese companies. So right now we're in the middle of working with 17 of Japan's top technology companies to help them work in the U.S. market. So, and then I because I love learning stuff, I'm always in that mode of learning things and experimenting and trying things. I'm always thinking about what is the experiments we're running. And so anyway, that was a long introduction. I don't know, I'm just going all over the place, but 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 yeah. So yeah, I love. There's so much to share, and so I'll throw it back to Vishak and Cassie.
No, thank you so much for that, Ian. I mean, that's such an illustrious career, I would say, and rightly mentioned, as in you've spanned so many different transformations, technology-wise. It's like so many learning experiences right there that you've seen. But one thing that stood out from what you said is that thing about curiosity. I mean, that's something
Mm,
that's in a way what's essential from what we are going to talk about today. Especially we're going to be talking about the evolution of L&D as a creator community, and what that means. But I think the foundation of it would be curiosity, because we see that so many tools are coming out that are changing the way we work, changing the way we learn. But unless and until we try them out, there's no way like we move forward. So that's what this today's episode is all about. And I think before we start, we are very curious to know, and we wanted to kind of throw this out to everybody. Like, what would be one word that describes your current relationship with AI in your work or your personal life? What's that one word that would describe it? Please feel free to check it out. But Ian, what would that be for you? I would love to know that.
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time really quick? My I have a distraction. I have a cat outside my door.
I have 8 of them right behind me.
Okay, and
I
he's
understand.
he's just crying, just like what's going on? So, one more time. Sorry, Vishal.
No worries. No, I
Curiosity.
actually,
Yep.
yeah,
Hmm.
curiosity. I was asking the participants about that one word that would describe their relationship with AI these days. But I think I can
Mm.
reframe that question to you for more in terms of like, L&D professionals. That's like Cassie, me, and I think we
Mm.
represent the
Mm.
whole bunch of the L&D professionals. So
Yep.
we are no longer kind of buying those tools. We are no longer kind of just taking up tools and building out solutions. We are actually finding those tools that helps us
Mm.
build solutions right then and there, right? So
Yep.
what is that? I mean, what's your take on that? I'd really like to know how that.
Yeah. Well, I think what's been fascinating. I mean, so when I was in this other company, we were doing all this AI research and all these things. And of course, when ChatGPT came along, it just blew the doors
Yeah.
off of everything, right? All the research we were doing was just like boom. Um, I think, and again, you know, this is the kind of stuff I love because AI, I was there in 95 when the internet happened, right? We were there when the internet happened,
Yeah.
and it feels just like that all over again, but bigger, right? Because the questions we're asking about AI are the same questions we were asking 30 years ago about the internet: is what is it and what do you do with it, right?
Mm.
And I think the key in all of this is being super curious and trying these things and using these tools and learning actually how it, in some ways, how it breaks your processes, how it as you um as you use it. And a really good example I think is for the last, gosh, now 16, 17 years, we've been major practitioners of human-centered design here in Hawaii, design thinking out of Stanford. When I was in industry, the one thing that I always felt, because we were so technically in the deep tech side of stuff, was we were always missing the human element in all the work we did, right? Everybody's brilliantly, like everybody is like PhDs, valedictorian of their schools. They went to Harvard, Stanford, MIT, you name it. But what was always missing was the human element. So that's why design thinking became so important for me and for our organization. And but 3 years ago, when when generative AI came out, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And
Yeah.
you can spend a lot of time doing design thinking, the process. So one day I started experimenting using a transcriber and basically interviewed somebody, started the process with somebody online, and basically what would have taken all day, I basically did in 1 hour,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? Using AI, right? And I was like, this is interesting. And so, but then that was an online thing, right? And then getting together with a whole team of people, because we run an executive training session for executives here in Hawaii every few months. So I grabbed a bunch of people and we experimented. So we got together and I went crazy on the extreme side using AI it, in the reverse. So we didn't do the human piece first. We did the AI piece. We used AI to drive the process. But by the end of the day, it was a total failure. And that was the most important failure I think I've ever had using, trying to do something where I literally went to the extreme and used AI to drive the process. So imagine having like this artificial person on your human team, right? That basically did all the work. So guess what happens, right? So by the end of the day, everybody is not motivated. Everybody is like, okay, so Cassie the AI is so smart. She did all the work. Like, what are we here for?
Mm.
Right? But at the same time, that failure showed me the power of like a human-centered process like design thinking, which is that process is to build team, it's to bring people together who are strangers, that in a very short period of time they will focus and care about a problem that they didn't even know there was a problem.
Mm.
But AI, if not used correctly, totally destroys that human development process. It
Wow.
actually kills their learning process. It totally doesn't it's like you're not curious anymore because it's like, well, I don't have to do that. Like it did all the work, right?
Yeah.
But that massive failure when was taught us that the value of AI is figuring out where do we insert it in our process and
And this
how
is
do we use
exactly.
it, right? How do we use it to like enhance the human work that we do? So after that, we started flipping it and saying, okay, the human team we're always going to do the analog first of each of the 5 steps in the design thinking process. But at the end of each step, we will then use AI to enhance the human work,
Mm.
not replace the human work. And I think
Mm.
that massive failure, and it was a big failure. And luckily, again, we invited people who are close friends and basically said, this could fail. Okay, so we're doing a big
Sounds like a
experiment.
startup mentality, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's almost like how you work in a startup kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
I
But to
exactly.
your
So
point though, Ian, it's that self-efficacy that got lost for humans, right? So from an L&D perspective, we look at it as like, how do we get the human to feel like rewarded or empowered through this process and not feel like it's all taken away from them? And so what
yeah.
you just found out was that the AI took away the power, and the people felt like deprecated at that point. We're like, what do you want us to do then? Like the AI is doing all
Yeah.
of this. When you reverse the model, the humans now felt empowered, like, okay, now my assistant can take my words and then make it sound better. So that's kind of sounds like the process you went through. And I think
Yeah.
through learning, we talk about all the ways that we design things and all the ways that we build types of trainings or deliver training resources. So in your world, as you started to do a lot of these um, events, for executives and also for high school students. What have you built? Like, what are some of the prototypes and the AI tools that you're using?
Hmm.
That, you know, I guess they're all free now, right? So now we're looking at like it's so accessible, but how do you narrow that down too?
Yeah, well, yeah, so many things are, yeah, and we use so many tools. Like, I'll just give you a really simple example. Yesterday, so we're with we have 17 of Japan's top deep technology companies with us for 2.5 weeks, and so we have all of these subject matter experts that come in, and so as we're and a lot of it is virtual as well. So while one of our mentors is speaking to the group and talking about a subject, they bring up a topic, right? And it's like, oh, this is really, really good. And so they bring up a topic about a particular framework of how to present some information. So this is a way for engineers and scientists to actually present. There's like these 8 questions, right? So my friend talks about it and I go, oh, I should I should make, because we make these 1 page, what we call pentacharts. So basically taking, it could be a 50-page document and making it like this 1 page, which is really, really hard. So we have different forms of it. But he was telling me about this other form, which is like, oh yeah, that's right. There's this even another form of it. And so I look it up and basically find this really great website that has a video about it and all this information about these 8 questions. So I basically I copy the link to that, and then I go into like one of the tools I really love is it's called Manus. And so Manus is an agent-based MANUS, and it's called Manus, and they just got bought recently by I think by Meta. Just recently
okay.
bought them for about $2 billion. But it's an agent-based system, and it is one of the best overall all-around tools, agent-based tools for building things. But the thing I love about it is is making presentations with it. So I can
Mhm.
literally paste a link into that system and basically says, can you review can you review this link and create a presentation from it? And it really created this amazing presentation. But then I also told it, make me what is called a quad sheet based on this information. And then that information, like literally in about 5 to 10 minutes, it actually made the presentation. It made me the quad sheet. And then I basically converted those, but then I basically sent it to the whole team. Like in 10 minutes, I took what my friend was saying and basically pushed it to the entire team
Mhm.
of this kind of thing versus, okay, I'm gonna wait or something. So the speed, so the interesting thing about is the the ability uh to be creative, to be and but to also do it incredibly fast is, I think, one of the most amazing things about AI today. It's like being an artist
Mhm.
and then you having a moment of inspiration and be able to literally create it yourself, right? Otherwise, before, what I would have to do is send this to somebody else or wait till the end of the day and then try and find a few hours. So you really think about it, right? Before, I would have to go look at the website and then go, okay, based on actually look at the entire website, build a presentation about it, build that quad chart. I could spend days doing that work. Now, what if taking days was done in like 10 minutes? and goes
Yeah.
Yeah,
immediately out to the team, right?
because before you would use beautiful AI, I know, right, to make
I still
presentations and
do.
whatnot.
I
Okay,
still do.
okay. I
I
just
still
was kind of
do.
like, okay.
I still do, but look at but but like but here's how I could do it, right? I take that, and then again, Beautiful AI is kind of like my presentation platform. I can import that into Beautiful AI so that all my presentations are living in Beautiful AI, right? But
Oh.
yeah, but these again are just like, but that's just one tool. So you just, but I think the message I want to say is what I would need a team for, right? A team to do I can do now. So what is I'm calling this is like this is creating a new generation of talent. I want to call it. I'm going to call it a new category of workers, and I'm calling this group of workers visioneers. These
Mm.
are the visionaries. These are you folks who know what you want to build. You know what you want, but you could never build it yourself because you would need to have a team of a technical team, an implementation team to do it for you. You don't need that anymore,
I have a question, Ian. I
right?
mean, see, you just described a tool that helped you create an amazing presentation and doesn't
Mm,
take much time. But imagine if I was an instructional designer and
mm,
I didn't know where to look. I probably know about a couple of tools like ChatGPT and such general words.
mm,
But
mm-hmm.
if I don't know about it, how would I go about, like how would I get that first step, like how you did, to kind of
Oh yeah,
understand? Yeah.
yeah.
This
So
is the
so
key
so
point.
yeah, yeah. So within Manus itself, right? Like you could again it is a really powerful large language model, right? So I could prompt it about a particular topic, right? I could say, let's do research about a particular topic. Tell me about again, and I treat these systems like a PhD level
Mm,
partner, right? It's a
mm,
PhD level partner, and I think of them as teammates because I have to put myself in the mindset that I need to interact with my teammate, right? If I give my teammate like here's what I want, um, most times like again like a human, if I just give if I don't give enough context and I don't give enough details, then a human teammate would not be able to give me a whole lot of stuff, right? Maybe
mm,
50% they get right, right? And so I'd be really disappointed. So that's why I have to put myself in this mindset that I'm dealing with this amazing teammate that knows nothing, but knows everything. It knows
mm,
nothing about what I want to do, but it knows everything else, right? So that's why I put myself in this mindset. And basically I would say, tell me about this particular topic. So we'd have this conversation back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And again, a lot of these different systems have now they call them deep research modes, right? So you can
mm,
put this in deep research and go back and forth. And many times it will plan out what the research plan is. And then
yeah.
it'll go off for 10, 20, 30 minutes, right? And then once I look at that information and I feel like, you know what, this is good information, right? I
Mm,
can then say, now can you now make a presentation, like make a 20 slide presentation based on this information that this conversation we've been having. And all of a sudden I have this 20 page like amazing presentation, right? Or whatever it is, right?
yeah.
So but now you could do the same thing in ChatGPT, take those results and bring it over to any system. The only problem
Yeah.
with ChatGPT and some other systems right now, even if I put it in agent mode, the presentations it does is pretty basic. Whereas
Mm.
Manus does it's like next level. It is so amazing in
There
terms of
are
what it
some
produces.
tools like this, right? Like
Hmm.
Manus, and I think Anthropic's Claude is also, I
Hmm.
mean, personally, I'm using it and I think it's doing amazing work. Like that, there are a bunch of these tools, right? Ian, how do you go about it? Do you, like, as soon as you hear about a tool, do you kind of check it out? Or, I mean, how do you kind of evaluate?
Yeah, yeah, I've been really, what's been really great is, well, I've been running, I do lots of AI trainings for executives here in Hawaii and for organizations. So part of it, and I'm because of that, I have to stay on top of a lot of
Yeah.
different tools, and so it's kind of exhausting. And so, as you all know, like there's so many different tools, right? So, um, but that's the hard part, right? Is most of us don't have time to be always like learning and playing with all these different tools. So I think that the thing, the reason why I think people come to all of my workshops is because I've done that work for them, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so and even though it's a one, it's like a 1 day workshop, people are like, wow, it's all day. I go, yeah, but you're gonna see, like, you're gonna blink your eye and the whole day's gone, because I literally design it. So like Cassie, it's like any kind of learning, right? It's kind of scaffolds, right? We start
Yeah.
with like the broader context of how would an executive use these kinds of tools, right? So it's designed that way, and then the tools, we learn these different tools, and then we do a comparison to, like, okay, what is Gemini like versus what is ChatGPT produce for the same work, right?
Yeah.
But everything keeps
Yeah.
building, right, through the course of the day. Um, um, I think that the hardest part is these things are literally, every time I do a workshop, literally I do a workshop on Monday. If I have the same workshop on a Friday, I actually have to update everything, or I have to
Yeah.
potentially
It's
look at,
changed.
okay, it's changed. Like, it's the exponential. See, a lot of stuff what's happening today in AI was not predicted for another 10 years,
Mhm.
right? The
Yeah.
penetration of AI globally is the equivalent of what took 25 years on the internet side. You know, the internet took like 25 years to go global,
It's not gonna
right?
take that much. It's going so
It-
far,
It's it's
so much faster now.
it's so much faster, right? I think ChatGPT is up to something like 800 million weekly users.
Yeah.
So think about
Yeah.
800 million people use ChatGPT every week,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I think the kind of work that you are doing and helping pass it on through these workshops and these kind of talks and through various forums, I think that's what I'm trying to say, that we're changing L&D into a create a community, because it's
Yep.
all about being a community, and there are different people trying out different things and saying that, hey, I created this, or I failed over here, and that kind of helps a lot of others kind of move forward. So it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's thank you so much for doing that, Ian.
No, no.
Yeah,
So
and
to your point, it's like you can fail fast now.
Yeah.
See, that's the
yeah.
thing that, Cassie, go. You know
Oh
where
no,
I'm going.
I was gonna say, yeah, like, with a lot of the stuff you're talking about and failing fast, the people who are on here listening, they're probably like, okay, Ian, so where do I start? Like, I
Yeah.
want to bring the
Mm.
people along that I help and I teach and in a learning field. Like, where would you tell them to start? How would you get them started? What would be best practice? Because sometimes within their environments, they are limited to just whatever applications that they have for agents or AI tools. And so it's beyond the
Mm.
AI tool. It's just what I know and experience. It's not just the AI tool. The tool comes after, but it's that beginning starting.
Yeah. Well, I think all of you are experts in what you're doing, right? And that's where you start, right? It's like, who are you designing for? I mean, this is a very design thinking thing, right? Is that it always starts with that, right? You can have a great idea, but eventually you got to come to the point of like, who's this designed for, right? And spending enough time understanding.
Sorry.
Oops, sorry. I think it's, oh, that must be me.
AI
But
is calling. Yeah.
AI is calling. Yeah, sorry everybody. It's like, oh, wait, whose phone is ringing? Um, but I think it's, it's like, who are you designing for, right? And starting with that first, right? And sometimes you don't need AI, right? Sometimes it's really the human part that, always, I think, is the part you want to start with first. You think of it like you're also like the chef. You're. I tell people, like, when we use AI, they said, I tell them, it's like you're like you are like you're like a chef, right? And a chef never never sends the food out to the guests until they taste it first, right? So I think that's the part is you're still responsible for all the outcomes, the results, but it starts with, I think, that part, and then you I think again the hard part with all of this stuff is, okay, what is the right tool? And right now, you know, there are certain like my go-to tool. Okay, if I say, Ian, if there was one tool you just use that you tend to use the most, I would say it's ChatGPT. And the reason for that is ChatGPT early on has a feature, and and they still have this feature. It's called memory.
Mm.
Okay. And so what that really means is I'm building a second brain, like literally a second brain in ChatGPT. Because
Mm.
I've turned on that. Some people don't like that feature. I turn on that feature because everything I do now in ChatGPT is remembered. And a lot of it is really for the context of it, right? The
It
problem
knows
with
you.
these systems is, yeah, is that, again, it's like a human, right? If I don't give enough context to somebody and I ask it, I tell them, okay, do this for me, right? If it doesn't have context, the results are not going to be that good, right? So with memory turned on, it has context. So, and I don't have to give it more information because it already has like 3 years of conversations. And so that was one of the most important features. Now, Gemini has that capability. So I would say my second go-to tool tends to be Gemini. And because this is Gemini is Google's product, the thing that's really interesting about Gemini is because it's Google, it has way, and all these models, and if everybody knows this, these models are based on data,
Yeah.
right? The
Mm.
quantity and quality of the data. And because and those models are trained on all this data. And so what's interesting is when we actually and I show this in our workshops, but if you did a when you ask it to generate, for example, images, the images in Gemini are way more relevant and I want to say not fresh, but they look like they're more in the present.
Yeah.
Okay,
Modern. Yeah.
more modern because again the data, see, Gemini, Google has all the data, so
Yeah.
Gemini's models have better data, and they also
Yeah.
own YouTube, right? So so results tend to be so I got to tell you that Gemini is coming on really strong.
True.
It
True.
is
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
an amazing tool, right? So what do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
guys? So are you?
The output is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
So what are your guys' go-to tools?
Uh,
I'm
Go ahead,
go
Prashad.
ahead, Cassie. Okay, I'll start. I'm a diehard loyalist of Claude. I've been like, it's
Yep.
probably because Ian, it's just like what you mentioned. They had, I think they started their memory feature too, and it has. I've been working with the tool for the last 2 years, so it has a lot of data and context on me. So now when I'm asking for some kind of a thing, it's the responses are, like you mentioned, way more, of a higher quality than probably another tool. But that brings me to another question, huh? I mean, you mentioned, right, it's about talking to it, giving it context. So it's all about that communication. It's probably like you're talking to a stranger who knows like a lot of things, but then it's a stranger about you,
Mhm.
right? I mean, so you need to give it as much context as possible. So how, how does that work? I mean, I guess a lot of
Mhm.
people, it's kind of a reflection on how we communicate, right? I mean, if we are going to talk to the AI, how do we kind of actually communicate with it? What's your take? I mean, how have you seen this working out
Well,
among different
I think
people?
when you're the reason I'm laughing is like is you may think about like it's like how do I communicate with myself, right?
Yeah,
Because essentially it's my brain, it's my second
yeah,
brain. And for the young folks, your memory is great. As you get older, the memory's not so good, right? But so this is where it's like I have to be conscious about what I'm doing with, like, for example, in my case, I'm using ChatGPT as kind of my base system. um, and I will literally feed it information. When I have some interesting materials, I will literally upload it to ChatGPT and basically tell it, review this information
yeah,
and just remember it. And it now is kind of there. So So again, I'm constantly feeding it information. I'm interacting with it. I'm trying to be very purposeful and intentional that I'm actually training up this brain so that when later on, right, when it's like, okay, I need to build something, I need to create some lesson plan, I need to do something, like I don't have to feed it all this context or go like, oh shoot, where's that information that I have? Like, okay, I had this stuff somewhere or have it bookmarked somewhere. Instead, I'll feed it that link or something, right? It says, I want you to review this website, and I'll put it in agent mode, for example, and obviously review this website and just remember this information that you've actually got,
Do
Do you use
you
the
So,
talk
have?
feature too?
Sorry, go
Do
ahead.
you use the talk feature too, Ian? Like, like I
oh
might be
yeah,
in the car, like, oh my gosh, I have
Yeah.
this thought. So I turn it on and then I end up talking with it, I say, okay, don't forget this now. Like, I had this conversation with you. I'm probably going to come back to it. Do you use that feature?
all the time. Again, I'm talking to myself, right?
Yeah.
so again, it's like this is, what is interesting to me. I want to, the analogy of this is the closest thing you'll get to being like a musician. I feel like, like when you are like a musician will have moments of inspiration, and it's like in that moment they'll write the lyrics down, they'll turn on a recorder and they'll hum a chord or whatever the thing that popped into their head. Cassie, that is the feature that I'm in the car, and normally there's, you probably you learn that when your creativity kicks in,
Mhm.
right? And it's in those moments when you're like chilling, you're the most relaxed, right? You're in bed or
In the
you're in your
shower.
car in the shower or you're
Yeah,
walking. Like
yeah.
when I go walking, oh my God, that's when all the creativity goes crazy. And so people are probably like, this guy's talking to himself, So I'm like, my headsets are
No.
on. I did this thing. I'm like, okay. And by the way, you can name your AI. So my AI, her name, she's a she, and her name is Keala. So I'll
Okay.
go, hey Keala, hey, how are you doing? She goes, I'm doing great. Whatever. What do you want to like? What do you want to talk about? And so I will just start data dumping, brain dumping, and I go, okay, I have this idea. And so I want you to just listen, and I'm just gonna like brain dump for the next 5 to 10 minutes, and I will just dump everything that's coming in my head, like a
Mm,
musician, right? It's like stream it all out. And AI is very good with messy, complex junk. So
mhm.
imagine a 5 or 10 minute just getting it all out of my system. And then I'll say, okay, so can you like
Sort it out.
organize this information? Yeah. And then tell me what you think. Again, this is like my partner. This is my
Yeah.
creativity partner, right? My design partner. Say, okay, so what do you think? And then she'll come back and she'll just organize it all, right? And then when I come back home, right, I just go on the computer, I bring up ChatGPT, and then I go, okay, can you like can you like put this together in a white paper, make it into a proposal, create a lesson plan from this. Let's make a presentation from this, or give me the materials. And then what I'll do is then I'll move over to Manus. So
Mm,
this is where like specialized tools, or maybe go to Claude, go, hey, so I go to Manus and go, okay, upload the information, basically, okay, can you create like a presentation from this document? All right. And
yeah.
so that's the
Wow.
I
Yeah.
think that's the part that's so powerful now, right? Is
Yep.
all your
Yep.
creativity, you are now the visioneer, right? You have the engineering capability to do almost anything now. And I literally have built like applications, like web applications that would take that normally I would need a development team.
Mm,
Like 6 months
mm,
and $150,000. I did a project. I did it in 6 weeks for $150. Now, what is my
mm,
time worth? But I was able to do it and did it in the evening, 2 hours, 2 hours a evening for like 6 weeks. But I built something that would have taken, and I ran software companies. So I went 6 months, $150,000. That's probably what a company would charge me to build this application. But I built it all myself, and you can do the same thing. And that's why I say you're like these like visioneers, right? Where you can build things now and do things now that was literally impossible a year ago.
Yeah, Ian,
yeah.
we're gonna have Josh Cavalier on for our next one, and
Oh,
he posted on LinkedIn and he had said like, hey, you know, I did this, I would normally take me hours to do, and within 25 minutes it summated everything, made the lesson for me, I'm ready to go. And he was just like, this is how much of a time saver it is. And a lot of it has to do with how much you're feeding into the AI, how you're prompting it, what are ways that you're getting the information out. But before Vishart shares this, we had one question from Kelly, and I think it stems from our initial conversation. You know, as L&D people, we deal with the humans, and you came from the tech world. So how do we bring IT along as our partner in use, testing, experiment? And you and I had this conversation before we just started this. So I think it's a great, good
It's
question that
very
Kelly brought up.
relevant for some of the big organizations. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, again, see, this is where you guys, I think, have an advantage because you understand that everything starts from education. If you are uneducated about a topic like AI, it's totally scary. It's totally like crazy.
yeah,
So it's how you bring IT along is help them become more educated about it, and having hopefully your IT leadership understand too, like this this is the, and they, I think they understand it. This is probably the biggest disruptor in our lifetime. But if you are sitting on the sidelines waiting for, I don't know what you're waiting for, but it's because you can just be like deer in the head, you know, deer in the headlights, right? Just frozen, like, oh, we're not going to do anything until I don't know what, until you get run over, until you get left behind. So think about it, right? If that example I gave where I built this this application myself, I didn't have to hire that company, right? So there was a company I would have hired to do this. That company now is in, if they don't get on the AI thing and get educated and start figuring out how do we incorporate these tools into our process and our workflows and transform into this new kind of company, they're going to be gone. And see,
yeah,
that's the interesting thing, because again, I was there at the beginning of the internet revolution. That revolution, in a way, started it was crazy, and it blew up. And it took actually a long time for for you to see the impact of it, I think, right?
yeah,
You know, all of a
yeah,
sudden it's like you could kind of tell like, oh, this is going to really affect all the paper publications, you know, the newspapers and media and TV, but those impacts didn't come much, it came much later.
yeah,
AI, I think, is gonna, like, just like how it's so accelerated, that acceleration is gonna just blow by companies, and they don't even realize that they're actually obsolete, and that
yeah,
their business models and how they're operating are like, that world is gone, but they still operate as if that world still exists, and that's what's dangerous. And
true.
I think this is where you guys are, like, you guys are the new, like, strategic inflection point in the company, because if your people internally are just saying, you know what, you guys can't use any AI, we can't do anything, right? That's like the tail wagging the dog. And
True.
that's what IT can be. And that's what IT is in many organizations. Now, I'm not saying IT should be trying to figure out how to enable you to use these tools safely, right? Versus, nope, you can't use any of this stuff, stay away from it. You're all restricted from using it. Like, that's going to be the death of the company.
It's very
IT's role
dangerous.
should be an enabler. IT should be an enabler, but IT over the decades have become the gatekeepers to innovation.
Yeah,
And that's the most dangerous kind of IT group, is they just lock everything down. And in our company, where I was, IT had such a hard time because we're a creative organization of scientists and engineers. And whenever I looked at our scientists and engineers, I always say they're actually creatives. They're not scientists and engineers. They're there to invent and create. So we have to give them the tools and the processes and the training and the education to like enhance that. And so IT had a hell of a time in our organization, because it's like, we need to use these tools. We need to put this on the network. And again, we're doing like again, we're kind of like James Bond doing all these kind of like, I don't say secret projects, but these are very sensitive projects.
Yeah.
So IT had this very um, very difficult role of enabling creativity while at the same time keeping us safe, keeping our organizational safe, making sure we don't get hacked, making sure corporate data doesn't just leak out every place. So they had a really, really hard time. But guess what? If you have an IT group that can do that, that is the most innovative IT group in the world.
True. True.
They would be
Yeah.
the most cutting edge group
True.
because they're balancing this dynamic tension between creativity and you're enabling all of that at the same time protecting the organization.
And
And
the
it's been
Yeah.
interesting part about it is IT can use AI itself to come up with some of these solutions and things to kind of
yes,
it's coming over there, it's reaching there.
yeah, it's
as
so
a
true.
little follow-up, Ian, is like, when you said if we don't keep up with it, it's not necessarily we're gone, but we're left behind. And so you think of the
Yeah,
scenarios of like Kodak, right? Kodak missed the boat. They were the great
yep,
high on the top for film, and they missed the boat on the digital era. And going back to Kelly's comment, like she had said, IT approves it for corporate use. And we had Keith Keating on last month, and he says, when you struggle in those situations, get a seat at the table, or if not, build your own table and start the conversation.
yeah,
So, but that
yeah,
was a great segue, and I'll turn it back to Vishark as he's going to get ready to share something.
Yeah,
yeah,
thanks, Cassie. This is something while Ian was talking about how companies can get obsolete because of certain reasons and such, right? Small use case that I'm showing where this client came to us and said that, yeah, we need to create e-learning solutions for some of our, application simulation, how to kind of get employees onto that application. But hey, we also need some quick reference guides because, after they complete the training, if they want to kind of quickly go through it. Now, normally in this kind of a scenario, we go ahead, we create the learning solutions, and then we take time to create those PDFs or whatever the quick reference guides are. This is something that I tried out in Lovable, where I asked it to
mhm,
create a quick reference guide generator directly from their help site. And I think this took me about what, some 15-20 minutes. And I could show this to my, client to get a feel. And so what I'm saying is earlier, a company like mine, I mean, where we are opposite, we would have to kind of charge the client, to kind of create those documents and things additionally. But here we are kind of passing that on to the client saying that there are these tools available and, we can kind of quickly put this together and we can get the quick reference guide. I mean, we can work on it, but this is like this is how tools like Lovable and such are kind of helping us as instructional designers to put together prototypes, cut down on some workflows which earlier used to be costly or time consuming. So it's very
yes,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah. Actually I use the same tool
Mhm.
to build tons of different applications. And I'm gonna put a for those and again, but I'm gonna just put in the I'm gonna put in the chat. This is actually you can grab a copy of this. This is a planning worksheet. So like it's like anything, right? Like this is if you can plan out your application, right? And so this is actually a planning worksheet that I developed for Lovable, using for Lovable, because we work with students. We also work with students. So we just had a presentation yesterday by 3 student teams that we taught the design thinking. We actually ran this boot camp, and we taught all the like 100 students design thinking, put them into teams, and eventually had about 12 teams that actually stayed with us and actually went. So basically, they went back to the schools. They found challenges in their schools, and then used the design thinking process to basically do all the empathy work and all this stuff. And then when they came up with an idea of how they would solve this human problem for students or counselors or teachers, they would then fill out this planning worksheet. And then when they finish with filling out this planning worksheet as much as possible, they would then upload this worksheet to Lovable and basically tell Lovable, create an application from this attachment. And Lovable would go off for about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and then literally build out this like amazing application. And then from there, the students kept building, kept on building over the time period. And this was over like a couple of months. And yesterday we had the top 3 teams present to computer science summit for the public school teachers had a computer science summit. And these 3 student teams just blew everybody's mind. Like,
Wow.
and you know what's amazing? The top 3 teams, the first place team was a middle school. Okay.
No
The second place team
way.
was a high school, and again, these are public school students. The third place team was actually another middle school team from the same school. And these are the top 3 now. There were 12 other teams, but they have real working applications. Like 1 million students could use their application tomorrow.
Oof, this is interesting.
And
Wow.
everybody was just like, everybody's jaws are on the ground, right? Because they're just like, but what's more impressive, but to me was more impressive, wasn't just technically they could build stuff, is we opened the audience up to ask them questions. And these students were so articulate because, it's like, who did you design this for? And they could just dive deep into who they designed for, what was the process, what did you go through? And because design thinking is this 5-step process, they literally could speak about any process, like how did you guys come up with this idea? Who did you test with? Oh, we actually went to classes and actually tested our applications. Oh, by the way, here's our survey. And they had like 100 survey feedback, like of people that they surveyed and all the feedback they got, right? Like, Cassie, this is like a startup. I was going,
Yeah.
that's a startup right there
Wow, middle
that you
school.
just
Yeah.
could never do just like a year ago. Like literally these teams could launch a company
Yeah.
based on what they built.
And there
And
are students and children actually kind of creating certain businesses and such. This is Ian, tell us a little more into like, your comparison between children as in students and how it is for
wait,
Okay.
adults.
before you
Yeah,
answer
Okay.
that
go
question,
ahead,
Ian,
Cassie.
before you answer that question, I want to make
Okay.
sure the audience understands is that these middle school students, as well as high school, got questions, and I was in one of his earlier sessions. They got questions from like a CIO of the Department of Education,
Wow.
the superintendent, and they were able to answer the technical questions like what about the data, what about where does this sit, how does this work, and they were like answering, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like so amazing. And then they wanted to partner with the students. Like that was the amazing part about this whole thing. So going back to Fishark's question, like what is easier, what have you learned after doing it for executives versus doing it for middle and high school students?
Yeah, like it's yeah. So okay, I'll tell you a story about really quick. So as part of my work, I wanted to bring computer science to public education here in Hawaii. And so, which eventually we did. So actually in state of Hawaii, every school from K through 12 in the public school system, every school must offer a computer science class. Okay. Now, in the process of doing that, the only way we could do this was to actually train everyday educators in computer science. Okay, so we've trained us, and actually the Department of Education has trained probably nearly almost over 2,000 educators in computer science. These are just regular educators that are trained in computer science. Now, we were doing training, and a lot of times we're asked to do in-service. Like, can you come to my classroom and show me how, again, you teach this so I can kind of replicate what you're doing. So like in a single week, I was asked one time in a week, can you come to my elementary class and teach my class for me? And I want to watch you. So I'm with a group of elementary school students. I want to say maybe 5th grade. and we're using these tiny robotic cars. Okay. And I show the kids, and this is C programming, by the way. This is not block programming. This is like like C programming stuff. So the kids, I teach them the most basic things, like how to make the car go forward, how to make it go backwards, how to make it turn. Okay. And then I kind of say, okay, I showed you, now you guys do it. So now that the elementary school students do this, they start doing it, right? And normally when I show them the most basic thing is make me a circle, make the car go in a circle. And I put a piece of tape on the ground and go, start the car on the tape, make the thing go 360 degrees, and then stop back on the tape, right? And then I said, when you do that, come back and sit down because I will teach you the next thing. Okay. So I get the kids going and it's like they go off and they go and find their little dots on the ground and they do this thing. And then I'm ready to call them back because I see they're kind of doing it, but then they're all coming back already. But what you're doing now is they're reprogramming and they're going back. I'm watching them going, oh, they're just going for it. They're not waiting for me. Just with the basic things I taught them, they're going already. They're doing stuff. They're coming up with games. Like their creativity is like just off the rails, right? So I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. Eventually, I have to call them back. I'll go, okay. Let everybody come back. Let me show you a couple of other commands that'll make it even more fun. You know, make the car make music, make light shows, all this stuff, right? And I'm like, okay, wow, that's a Monday. Then on a Wednesday, I go to a middle school. Okay, so this is like in Hawaii, middle school tends to be like 7th, 8th grade or so. So I go to the middle school. I do the same exact thing. Okay, I show them the basic things. On the tape, start the car on the tape, go around, land on the thing, do that perfectly now. And then, you know, whatever. So the kids do it, right? And then they all come back, they sit in their chairs and then go, okay, we're ready for the next lesson. I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting, right? They all come back to their seats and they go, okay, we're ready for the next lesson, right? And I do the next lesson and they just do what I tell them. They won't go more than what I tell them, right? And I'm trying to make it safe, like go play, go do stuff, right? They're like, no, they won't. They're kind of like, and then Friday I go to a high school, and in high school, you know, they're more like the elementary schools kids. They're kind of going off the rails. They want to like, how do I make the car drift? How do I do this and that, right? So they're creative, but in a different way, right? And then so that's the unique, interesting perspective I've had with like, and that's like with, you know, young students. But I'll give you one last one is because of the design thinking stuff we do, we have one example is I had a group of like young students, like I want to say middle school students or elementary school students on next to a team of principals now. So we would always put the principals in their own separate team. And I would normally be assigned to the principals team, okay, to help them because they're remedial. Like they really need to like cut loose, but it's hard. So we're brainstorming, right? And they're literally the kids are next to the principal's team, and up on the wall, the team of middle school kids have 100 post-it notes up on the wall because they're brainstorming all these ideas, and they're crazy, like just nutty kind of ideas, off the rail ideas, like 100 of ideas. And then the principal's team, they got like 10 ideas up. And I'm like, come on, guys, like come on, like blue sky, you know, like no constraints, like come on, right? And this is the interesting part, right? And it goes to, and I think ultimately this is where creativity, curiosity is the superpower, okay? Because if you compare the ideas now, right, the students' ideas are just totally crazy. They're not feasible. They're impractical. Blah blah. You know, there's all the reasons why. Like, yeah. Like that's just like you don't even want to look at that. But in the 100 ideas is normally 2 or 3 brilliant ideas. But you can't get to those brilliant ideas if you're not willing to generate crazy off the rail ideas. In the quantity of ideas, you will find quality, right? And again, it's there. And then when you look at the principles ideas, they're all incredibly boring. They're incredibly lame. They're incredibly like, that idea has been done 100 times. Why do you guys put up that idea? Why can't you go? It's because they know too much. So here's the interesting part. The older we get, and again, it's not based on age. It's based on curiosity and creativity. Mindset. You know, like the problem when you're like, as you get older, if you're not careful, right, you know too much. You know why all those crazy ideas the students are putting up won't work. And all those principles, basically, they're like this. They write their idea and they won't put it up because they look at it and goes, oh, that's stupid. We could never do that idea. So they and they throw it away. And then they write another one and they go, no, that's a junk idea. You know, and it's not a junk idea. But they already know they're filtering out all the best ideas because they know too much.
Yeah.
And that experience and that education is actually what holds you back from innovation and doing something amazing.
That's the exact problem we are also facing, Ian. I mean, it's we have these tools right now. It's just a matter of kind of getting there and experimenting and trying it out, failing and kind of learning from it also. So I think that's the need of the hour.
And we're so I think one takeaway everybody can walk away is continue to stay curious, because if we don't, they always say curiosity kills the cat, but I don't think that's the case. Like, I thought that was a not good saying when I was growing up. I thought curiosity really drives the conversation. But Ian, we want to thank you for your time and doing this. And if people wanted to do an online workshop with you, maybe a posit can partner with you and we can offer a 1-hour workshop or something. Because I think there's a lot of people across the world. They're like, okay, Ian, wow, I got 1 hour of you and I got like tons of information. And so those of you who are joining or watching this later, we're hoping that maybe we can partner with Ian and we can offer a workshop.
Yeah. I've done tons of online workshops. So I'm doing one for Maui College right now. So yeah, love to do something. Yep.
Let's set it up.
And we'll do it.
Yeah, let's set it up. But thank you everyone for joining. And again, all of this, the video will be posted later. We'll make sure that all the resources are there. And again, if you want to connect with Ian, find him on LinkedIn, message him, tell him what a great session we had and what you learned from him. And we appreciate for everyone joining. On behalf of Vishark and I and Aposit, thank you very much for joining. And we'll see you next time for Josh Cavalier next month.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, guys.